ahead and start as a subcommittee since we are short a couple members. So we're going to go ahead and start in the hearing. We're going to go with Senate Bill 243. Senator Nurrenbern, please begin when you're ready. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. For the record, Maggie Nurrenbern, representing Clay County, Senate District 17. Thanks for the opportunity to present Senate Bill 243. 4 years ago, we passed a law to require in-state colleges and universities to adopt a policy to grant undergraduate course credit to freshman students who have scored a 3 or higher out of 5 on their advanced placement exams. This allows students who have proven their mastery of the content through a standardized exam to save time and money by not having to repeat courses that they've essentially already taken. Today, I'm here to request that we do the same for those who take International Baccalaureate exams and classes, and that they score a 4 out of 7 on those exams. The International Baccalaureate program, or IB, as we affectionately call it, has 2 tracks. The diploma program is one of the most challenging course prep curricula in the state, and the career track prepares students to enter the workforce in high-demand fields or continue to higher education. Currently, 14 high schools in the state of Missouri offer IB programs. As a high school teacher, I had the incredible opportunity to teach both AP and IB classes. As someone who has spent years studying Spanish at Truman State University, studying abroad, and then living and working in Ecuador for 2 years, I was always amazed by how well my students were able to navigate the challenging curriculum and learn the language. One year I even taught a class within a class, and I taught both senior level IB and AP during the same block. The course that I taught to my seniors was even more difficult than the coursework I had completed in college. Scoring a 4 or higher on the IB exam or 3 on the AP exam is no easy task. Many of our institutions already give course equivalent credit, allowing students to bypass the beginning or even intermediate courses of their scores they receive based on the scores that they have received on their exams. Many states have already adopted a similar policy or law. Nearly all states, including Florida, Texas, Kansas, Arkansas, have policy and law in place that is doing what we are asking here in Senate Bill 243. Passing this bill will help some of our best and brightest students in Missouri to continue their education and pursue careers. I have witnesses who can tell you a lot more about the IB program, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have now.
Thank you, Senator, for presenting this bill. I'm going to pause real quick. We're just going to do a roll, establish a quorum, then we'll go finish this bill up. So, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Brattin.
Here.
Hudson. Here. Gregory. Henderson. Here. Nurrenbern. Here. Shore. Here. Weber. Here.
All right, a quorum being established. All right, thank you very much. Anyone to testify in support of the bill, please come forward. Please remember to fill out a witness form, and you can leave it up front here. For or against. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Mitzi Nessa, and I have the honor of serving as the Director of Secondary Programs for North Kansas City Schools. As a part of that role, I also serve as the IB Diploma Program Coordinator. I served for many years at North Kansas City High School as an IB biology teacher, and I am actually currently the mom of a future IB Diploma Program student, which makes this also near and dear to my heart. I'm here, though, today on behalf of approximately 195 students who will take exams this year at North Kansas City High School. Those students do represent IB-DP students, IB-CP students, and course students. And the difference between those is our IB Diploma Program students, they are taking 6 International Baccalaureate courses during their junior and senior years. That means 6 college-level courses at one time. Our IB career-related program students are taking at least 2 to 3 of those courses, as well as studying a career deeply. And finally, our core students are choosing to take individual IB courses as they select. Those students, as Senator Nurrenbern said, will take exams at the end of those courses that are incredibly comprehensive in nature. Like they assess multiple aspects of that student's ability in those courses and are scored on a scale from 1 to 7. My colleagues later will talk a little bit about the skills and the content that those exams test, but I want to also focus on the skills that our IB students leave us with that are not necessarily measured by an assessment. One of the representatives on the other side of the Capitol mentioned last week, as a former AP teacher, that these IB students are truly viewed as the cream of the crop. They are the type of kids that we want to keep in our state, studying at our universities and ultimately entering Missouri's workforce. These students will testify themselves that they are learning time management skills. I can say, as a student at Mizzou, I never took 6 classes at the college level at one time, yet these students are learning how to do that in high school on a high school schedule and navigating the extracurriculars and jobs that come along with that. So their time management skills are extraordinary. They also leave with a confidence that they can truly do anything hard. I think that's also important in college because they will face that when they enter post-secondary education, that courses will become difficult. And these kids know that they can do hard things. They will persevere through post-secondary education. Their written and communication skills are second to none. They make me proud every time they're on a formal or informal stage. And finally, their critical thinking skills are also above par. I had an email from just a student the other day from my alma mater at Mizzou, which I'm a little fond of and maybe took this a little harsh, but she said, Mrs. Nessa, I really miss the critical thinking I was doing at this time last year in my high school while I'm sitting in college classes. And so I think it's remarkable and says quite a bit about the type of education these students receive. So I'm hoping as you consider this bill that you also want to keep the cream of the crop in our state of Missouri. Thank you.
Al, thank you very much for your testimony. Any questions? See none. Thank you very much. Anyone else to testify in support?
Good morning, Chairperson and members of the committee. My name is Christy Doblos, and I serve as the president of our Midwest International Baccalaureate World Schools Association. The association serves Missouri, Kansas, Iowa, Arkansas, Nebraska, and Oklahoma. And our purpose is to support and advocate IB schools. So while I'm also here as an IB coordinator, I'm also here to support our MIBS association. I've been an educator in the state of Missouri for 28 years, an IB history teacher for 19 years, and an IB coordinator for 12 years. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today about our International Baccalaureate program and the importance of recognizing IB exam scores of 4 or higher for college credit. The IB program is a widely recognized, rigorous curriculum. As mentioned before, there are currently 33 states in the nation that offer some type of mandated recognition for this credit. Our border states include Kansas, Illinois, and Arkansas. And I think as Senator Nurrenbern mentioned, also states like Texas, Florida, Colorado, Wyoming, Alabama, the list continues as there are 33. This program prepares students for the demands of higher education. It emphasizes critical thinking, research, and problem solving, skills that colleges and employers highly value. Exams mirror AP exams. The final score, though, for an IB exam also includes a research paper, regardless of the class that students are in. So if they're taking a history class, a music class, a math class, even film, they will have a research paper that they also will do that will be part of that exam. Additionally, each course requires that students take at least 2 or 3 exam components. AP exam, over the course of a day, you have section 1 and section 2, usually a multiple choice and then a written. For the IB exam, you're going to have 1, 2, you'll at least have 2, if not 3. Those students that have 3 are in the 2-year IB courses. And these exams require students to produce. It's not just objective. They have to have the content, they have to have the knowledge, but they also have to be able to put their own ideas and opinions into writing, mostly, to show their knowledge and to show their ability to critically think and to analyze. IB coursework mirrors freshman level college classes, but we have some inconsistent credit policies that leave a lot of IB students at a disadvantage compared to their peers in other advanced programs. So what we would like is for the IB credit policies to align with the AP policy, and this bill would ensure college credit for those students. As we know, a similar bill for AP has already passed. As the prior witness mentioned, the sponsor of that bill recognizes the ability of our IB students and that it matches or equal, that's definitely equal to our AP students. And so we would like to have the same for our IB kids. They should get that same recognition. A score of 4 on an IB exam demonstrates strong competency, equivalent to a passing grade in a college course. So by aligning IB credit policies with AP, this bill would, 1, make college more affordable. My families are always asking me about college credit. What if my kid takes this IB class? Can we get college credit? That is always a question. And I don't know if I said this or not, but I'm in the Lee Summit R7 school district. It ensures fairness. Our IB students work just as hard as our AP kids do. They deserve that equal recognition. It will help, I think, our schools to attract and retain these high-achieving students. They want to stay in Missouri, but if they can go to Kansas and get credit for their IB classes, or they can go to Arkansas or Illinois, they will. They're going to go where it's going to cost them less money. So this bill is about fairness, consistency, and supporting students who take on rigorous academic challenges. I urge you to pass it and give IB students the credit that they have earned. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Well, thank you very much. I'm a Lee Summit Tiger myself. Any questions? See none. Thank you very much for your testimony.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Anyone else? How many do we have to testify in support or against on this bill? Okay. All right. We're going to try to exec, so we're trying to be as fast as possible. We have members that have to leave. So next witness, please come forward.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and committee. My name is Martha DeVries. I work at North Kansas City High School. I've been a high school counselor for many years. I currently serve as the IB Career-Related Program Coordinator at Northtown. Today, though, I want to talk to you a little bit about my role as mom. When my daughter was a senior in 2012, she was #1 in her class, and she was a recruited athlete. 4 schools in the state of Missouri recruited her to run cross country and track. She had been an IB diploma student, and she had worked really, really hard in high school. And her #1 goal was to get the most credit out of her IB experience when she went to college. She did not go to Missouri State. She did not go to Truman State. She did not go to Missouri Southern, and she did not go to Mizzou. She went to school in Kansas because she got a lot more credit there. She had a wonderful experience as a high school student. She learned so much. She had a history of starting really difficult things and finishing really difficult things. That's what colleges want. So when colleges are looking at students they want to give admission to, at students they want to give scholarship money to, they are looking for students who have a track record of starting the difficult and seeing the difficult through to its finish. I hope you will recognize that IB students are what our colleges want. They're what our colleges need in order to maintain their academic rigor. and those students need to be rewarded for their work in high school. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, thanks for your testimony. Anyone else to testify in support? Okay, anyone oh.
I'm the Council on Public Higher Education. Just want to go on record in support.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none.
Thank you, Senator.
Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Dusty Schneiders, representing the University of Missouri System, and we just want to go on record of supporting the bill. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Any questions? Seeing none. Anyone else testify in support?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I'm Brian Milner, the president of the Missouri Community College Association. We also want to go on record in support of the senator's bill.
Perfect. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. Anyone else testify in support? All right. Testify in opposition, please come forward.
Good morning. Lisa Panett, Armor Vine. This program is funded by the United Nations. It was Common Core before Common Core existed. It's anti-American, it's anti-God, it's anti-capitalist. The tests are sent overseas to be graded. They have the theory of knowledge, which teaches God is a myth. And for these reasons, we are opposed.
Any questions? Oh, Senator, proceed.
Thank you, Ms. Panett. Do you have curriculum examples of these things?
No, but I guess we can look for them.
Please,
Yeah.
please, I'd like to see them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. Anyone else to testify in opposition? Okay. Anyone to testify for informational purposes only, please come forward.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Mary Byrne, and my daughter was a student in IB. She graduated, and she received a $200,000 scholarship from Babson College, a business entrepreneurs college in Boston. I'm very grateful for the education she had, but there are severe limitations. First, I'll tell you about advanced placement, and that is when David Coleman took over as president of the College Board, his first agenda item was to revamp APUSH, the American U.S. History program. What he did was take a 10-page outline of American history, turned it into a much larger document, and deleted the Mayflower Compact, which is the beginning of American history. Today, our students don't know the difference between British history on this continent and American history starting in 1620 with the Mayflower Compact. And I truly believe that the guidance that APUSH from the College Board and the AP influenced what the rest of American history curriculum looks like. That said, the IB program is subject to the same limitations because it is a globalist organization. I can tell you my daughter did not get physics, and she did not get a good education in American government and history. Therefore, she's subject to this idea of being a global citizen, which is not the mandate of the Missouri Constitution. I just want you to be aware of the limitations, and perhaps if you consider passing this bill, you also consider closing up the loopholes. I'm open for questions.
So do you think that this is a problem with this program, or more so that the education system has removed history as something as a core curriculum item that we assess? I mean, we look at math, we look at English, but we no longer look at history. I mean, is that more so kind of what your testimony is that needs to be our want and desire to go back to teaching kids that as opposed to this?
We need, as legislators and active citizens in the state of Missouri, to remind ourselves daily of the limitations of government that is proscribed with the Missouri Constitution. Your Constitution, my Constitution in this state says that you are authorized to finance public education to protect the rights and liberties of the citizens of Missouri. That's not a global citizen. Okay? When we forget what our mandate is and our mission is as legislators to protect rights and liberties of individuals, we become victimized, enslaved to the agendas of national and international organizations. Again, I'll reiterate, my daughter benefited from IB. On the other hand, she's 33 and I'm still teaching her what it means to be American. And I think that's sad, because what you did was circumvent the authority of local school districts and state statute on what the mandates for the curriculum of Missouri is. And you've surrendered your authority to another organization, whether it's the College Board or IB.
Okay. Thank you. Any further questions? Oh, Senator, proceed.
Pardon me, ma'am, if you could, can you get me some examples of the curriculum that you're referring to? Would you still have access to those?
You know what? I still have my daughter's college papers, and I'll make another trip up here to share some with you.
Yeah,
Or my
or you can just
IB papers. Yeah.
Email, I mean, yeah, perhaps maybe not her papers, but any kind of the curriculum that they were teaching. Anything
Sure,
like that.
and I'll do the research online, and I'm sure these IB teachers can share with you what the content is. But
Yeah,
but I
that'd be
can
helpful.
tell you that because she participated in IB, there was an assumption that she would be part of the middle school prep for IB, which is where they taught physics. Because of a number of dynamics, I homeschooled my daughter through middle school. So she missed that part of her education that I consider a comprehensive science program, which I had in public school, which was physics, 2 years of biology and chemistry. Because at that time, before there was a U.S. Department of Ed that was bending the knee to the UN, we had classical education in public schools. That's one of the reasons I defend the full spectrum of school options to include quality public schools.
Yeah.
But I can
I just like
definitely
to
do
see it.
some
I'm a
research
show me
and help
guy.
you
If don't
understand
mind, show
more
me.
of the
I wanna
content.
see what you're talking
Certainly.
about. Thank
Yes.
you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Any further questions? Seeing none. Anyone else for informational purposes? Seeing none. Senator, closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you for your time this morning, and I'm happy to visit with anybody offline too and share a little bit more. Just want to let you know this is our third year of this bill. It has come over to the Senate the last 2 years and died along with many other good bills. But Representative Chris Brown, we mentioned him earlier. He carried the original AP legislation, and he's our House handler over there of this equivalent bill, along with Representative Kemp Strickler. So appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Senator. All right. We'll give you time if you wanted to come up here. We're going to start executive session. So we're going to go ahead and move into executive session. Can I get a second? Got a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. We are now in executive session. We're going to first go to Senate Bills 195 and 53. We heard these bills last week, had to do with the tax credit. There was a substitute that was distributed. Basically, so I make a motion that we take up Senate Bill 195. We have a second. I move to adopt the Senate Committee substitutes for Senate Bill 195 and 53. I have a second. Discussion. I'll kind of explain the changes in the substitute. It basically removes the mentions of homeschool, the FPE, and includes a definition, a more broad definition that basically any child that's not in the public school system can qualify, and a family can qualify for utilizing the tax credit. It also has another provision in this that ensures that nobody's able to double dip into the ESA program and into this. So, you have to pick your lane if you're going to utilize this or if you're going to utilize the ESA program. So, That's what the sub includes, apart from the bill that we heard last week. Yep. Senator, proceed.
The provisions in here are still optional for the tax credit utilization, correct?
Absolutely. Everything is 100% optional.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions? Senator Gregory, did you have?
Yes. So again, you said, are you peeling out those homeschoolers? That section for homeschoolers?
Well, it's peeling out the mention of the sections,
Yeah.
but it's basically what the definition is, including all students who aren't in the public school system. So could they partake
They
if
could
they
still
choose?
partake, but it's not referencing the
But it's
section.
making sure that they're not referenced, because that was the biggest concern,
Yeah.
is that they were referenced.
Love it. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Any further discussion? All right, see none. This is going to be a voice vote, so all those in favor of adopting the substitute signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. I move that we adopt the Senate Committee substitute for Senate Bill 195 and 53. Do pass. Do I have a second? Any further discussion? See none. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Brattin.
Aye.
Hudson. Gregory. Henderson. Nurrenbern. Schroer. Weber.
By your vote of 5-2, you have moved and passed. Okay, we are going to take up, I move to take up Senate Bill 166. I have a second. I move to adopt the Senate Committee substitute for Senate Bill 166 and 155. I have a second. Discussion on this. So the Senate Committee substitutes rolling. This was Senator McCreary and Senator Gregory's bill that we heard last week. So basically what this is doing is just rolling those two together. So is there any questions on the bill? Okay. I move that we adopt the substitute. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Okay. Those opposed, no. The motion passes. I move that we vote the Senate Committee substitute for Senate Bill 166 and 155 do pass. I have a second. Any discussion? Okay, see none. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Brattin.
Aye.
Hudson. Gregory. Henderson. Nurrenbern. Schroer. Weber.
All right. 7-0, the motion passes. Okay, I move that we take up Senate Bill 69. I have a second. I move that we do pass Senate Bill 69 do pass. I have a second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Brattin.
Aye.
Hudson. Gregory. Henderson. Nurrenbern. Schroer. Weber.
By your vote of 7-0, the motion passes. The bill passes. All right. I make a motion that we do pass Senate Bill 212, or take up, sorry, let me back up. I make a motion that we take up Senate Bill 212. I have a second. Now I make a motion that we do pass Senate Bill 212. I have a second. Discussion, any discussion on that bill? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Brattin.
Aye.
Hudson. Gregory. Henderson. Nurrenbern. Schroer. Weber.
All right, 5-2, the motion passes, the bill passes. I move that we take up take up SJR6. I have a second. I move that we do pass Senate Joint Resolution 6. I have a second. Discussion, this was the SJR that we heard last week on protecting the rights to educate your children. Any discussion? Seeing none. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Brattin.
Aye.
Hudson. Gregory. Henderson. Nurrenbern. Schroer.
All right.
Weber.
Vote of 5-2. The motion passes. All right. I make a motion that we move out of executive session. I have a second. We are now back hearing bills. We will go to Senator Fitzwater's Bill 266. Senator, proceed when you're ready. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Travis Fitzwater, Senate District 10, bringing before you Senate Bill 266. This is a rather simple bill. I think everybody says that about their bills, but I'm going to say it about this one too. This is just virtual school assessments, allowing virtual school students to be assessed virtually, so they're not driving to some location to do a test. It sets parameters. They've been discussed for the last couple of years. There'll be some witnesses that will talk directly about that. I won't spend too much of your time going into the details. If you have questions, I'm glad to answer them. But pretty simple. Just let virtual schools take virtual tests. Yep, simple bill. As
Very
always.
simple bill. Any questions? See none. Thank you very much. Anyone to testify in support, please come forward.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members. My name is Samoy Mainda, and I have a strenuous job that I do. I work 365 days out the year, and that is a mom. I am here on behalf of my children, more so my daughter Hannah, who is 15 years old. In June of 2022, HB 1552 passed that we would have virtual schooling for all families in the state of Missouri. My daughter, who at the time was traditionally homeschooled, began at MOVA, Missouri Virtual Academy, for 7th grade. She suffers from a severe learning disability. You would not know talking to her, as many of y'all have been able to speak with her. And she has just thrived at MOVA. She continues to excel. She has a 4.0 GPA, and she just continues to just knock it out the park. I am here in support of the bill because Hannah does all of her testing, her weekly testing at home on her computer via the internet. But when it comes to the state testing, we do have to go to another testing site, which can be a little strenuous. For one, we're going somewhere else that we might not know where it's at. It's pretty far away. I have to, make sure that my husband is able to get the other children from school. So it's just a lot of, things that we would really benefit by having it done virtually. But one of the biggest things is Hannah suffers from testing anxiety. She has to take medication weeks prior to the test to prepare for it. Even something as simple as being in a different chair and desk going to do the testing somewhere else instead of doing it and her at home has been really rough on her. So we just, a simple bill, if we could pass SB 266. Hannah wants to, after graduation, she wants to go to university to become a traveling nurse. And she's not here today. She's not feeling well, but she did tell me to let everyone know, thank you so much in advance for passing SB 266 and allowing her to become a travel nurse. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming down.
Yes, sir.
Got a brief question. Go for it. Who's that little one back there?
That is my youngest, Gabriella, and she is 6 years old.
Well, she's better behaved than a lot of the lobbyists that come at you. I want to applaud you for the work that you've done as a mom. You're
Thank
doing
you
really
so
good.
much. Thank
for coming
you.
out today.
Thank you.
Any further questions? See none. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anyone else to testify in support? Please come forward. Nope, you're fine. You're fine.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Brent Hemphill here on behalf of Connections Academy. We run 2 full-time virtual schools, Sturgeon and Bowling Green. The bill you all passed last year was transformative for the education system for virtual kids, as you saw from the previous witness. I cannot expound on that. When we do these tests, we have to rent certain facilities in various parts of the region, do it in person. Obviously, a lot of these kids have physical limitations, and so just allowing us to proctor these online would be hugely beneficial for these kids to remain in the environment that they flourish in. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? See none. Thank you. Remember to fill out a witness form if you haven't. Next witness in support. Thank you.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Senators. Tom Dempsey, registered lobbyist for Stride, Inc. We provide full-time virtual education live to about 7,500 kids in Missouri through the Missouri Virtual Academy and Missouri Digital Academy. They're offered through Lakeway and Grandview school districts. We also provide remote testing in some other states in the United States. Neighboring states, Kansas and Iowa have passed it most recently. We use a DRC for our online assessments. I know testing security is very important to DESE, and we use the same a state vendor that that is approved by the state of Missouri. So we just want to go on record in support of the bill.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Any questions? See none. Anyone else to testify in support? Okay, see none. Anyone to testify in opposition? See none. Informational purposes only. All right, Senator, closing remarks. All right, that concludes the hearing on Senate Bill 266. We're going to move to Senator Mosley, Senate Bill 306. Please begin when you're ready, Senator.
Hello, I am Senator Angela Mosley, 13th Senatorial District. Thank you for hearing this bill today, SB 306. Under this act, upon clarification of school district as unaccredited, the State Board of Education may suspend the governing and managing authority of the elected school board members of the unaccredited school district and take action relating to special administrative boards and set forth in the act. Current law provides the special administrative board for a school district shall have no fewer than 5 members. Under this act, such board shall have 7 members. I'm going to go into the 7 members. 1 member shall be a certified public school teacher from outside the district or retired. 1 shall be a certified public school principal from outside the district or retired. 1 shall be a certified public school superintendent or deputy or associate superintendent from outside the school district or retired. 2 shall be parents who have been active with the Parent Teachers Association or organization of the district. 1 shall be a college or university professor of educational administration, and 1 shall hold a degree and be experienced in accounting or finance, which I consider the dream team. This bill came about because I have a school district in my district that was unaccredited. Let me refresh my memory. It was unaccredited from 2007 to January of 2024, which is a very long time. And in my opinion, the previous administration at the state put unqualified people on the appointed board, and that was one of the reasons why they were unaccredited for so long. And even while being a senator, and she was appointing people and I was suggesting people, she wouldn't take my suggestions, who were qualified people, who were highly educated, had doctorates in education, also had worked in the district before it was unaccredited, and had children in the district. Instead, she put people on the board who had no education whatsoever and never attended the meetings. So this is how this bill came about, and I'll take any questions.
Well, thank you for the bill. Anyone have any questions? See none. Thank you very much. Anyone to testify in support, please come forward. Please remember to fill out a witness form.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Otto Fajan on behalf of Missouri NEA. Just a couple comments. First thing, I'm going to go to the Wayback Machine and mention that it was Senate Bill 380 from 1993 where we created the context where a school district could be dissolved, lapsed, and then just go poof on the basis of accreditation. For all of the history prior to that, the expectation was that school districts provide a minimum school term. So moving forward, we now have a policy where the accreditation from the state allows the school district to survive or not. There's a couple important things, improvements from the bad experiences that some school districts have experienced that this bill really addresses. One of them is it was very traumatic for the system, for the staff, to have the district lapse. And if you contrast that with St. Louis City, St. Louis City was taken over by a special administrative board under its own statute written in 1998, where the district didn't go poof. It did not lapse. That meant that the business operation, every aspect of the business operation wasn't shut down and then restarted from a cold start. Whereas with Normandy, since it lapsed, every aspect of the business operation was gone and had to be restarted from a cold start. That's very traumatic to parents, to students, to staff, and it's very disruptive. And so by having this provide that it's a similar statute to what St. Louis City has had, where if there is the judgment of the state they want to intervene and put in an unelected board, at least the district doesn't have to go through that kind of a trauma while it's also trying to sort itself out. Also, we had a lot of concern from staff and from parents that the special administrative board, which was essentially foreign to the district, was completely unresponsive. They're not elected school board members that you can talk to and who are answerable to you at an election. One of the really important beneficial points of this bill is it creates a set of folks who are connected to the district and to education as that special administrative board. So we see both of those as major reforms to what has been problematic for districts that have gone through this. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very
Chairman.
much. Anyone else to testify in support? Okay. See none. Anyone to testify in opposition, please come forward. Okay. Informational purposes only.
Dr. Mary Byrne, I would just like to remind the committee that anytime you centralize power in a single bureaucrat, you're looking for abuse of power. And I think what the senator is doing is decentralizing that power with her bill. And returning power to the people who are most affected by the decisions, which is what local control is all about.
Okay. Any questions? See none. Anyone else for informational purposes? Okay. See none. Senator, closing remarks.
Thank you for your time.
Now, thank you. That concludes the hearing on Senate Bill 306. Let me go ahead and I thought that bill would actually go faster than or slower than it did. Let me text Senator Carter. Our next bill we're going to be hearing is Senate Bill 324. So stand by while she's on her way down. Showed up. We're doing 324 first, so please begin when you're ready. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you so much for this opportunity to present Senate Bill 324. This is a
this is a bill that would require the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education to publish on its website any memorandum of understanding or other agreement between the department and any third party, regardless of whether the memorandum of understanding or agreement is in effect or proposed. This is a transparency bill. We've seen how, at least at my local level, we've seen how a lot of education policy has been driven through grants and memorandums of understanding. In the past, when I was coming up here a decade ago fighting for education freedom, this was one of the drivers. We had to sunshine request all of these documents from the Department of Ed. It made it very difficult for us to understand what agreements and commitments they were making at the state level that would impact our local government. So we would just like this to be put in place so that people understand what and how is driving a lot of policy in the state. So thank you. Any questions? Be happy to answer.
Thank you for the bill. I totally agree with you. Now, does this have anything to do with proprietary type of content or anything of disclosure of that?
So it would not be exposing any of the proprietary content, but it would be those agreements that
The agreements that they did sign on to?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Any questions? See none. Anyone to testify in support? Please come forward. Please remember to fill out a witness form.
Dr. Mary Byrne. I was with Senator Carter in 2013 when we started actually educating the legislature that the Department of Elementary and Secondary Ed, the commissioner, the governor, the president of the state board had signed on to an MOU to commit the state of Missouri to Common Core state standards. We are still living with the aftermath of that agreement, which the legislature did not know about. DESE did accept grant money that committed the state not only to adopting these standards, but to accept money for a statewide longitudinal data system that would collect data on students at the individual level. All of this was done without the legislature's knowledge and certainly without parents' consent, even though superintendents were made aware and convinced their local school boards to sign on. They were not fully informed of what the commitment was. Now we're talking about school districts that they're struggling to pay their teachers adequate salaries because there's been a commitment made 10 years ago to pay for technology that we know is less effective for instructing students than face-to-face classroom instructors. This is nonsense. And because of influences from the federal level dangling grant money in front of us, and because of ambitious commissioners within the Department of Elementary and Secondary Ed, we're living with a declining reading and math scores that was set in motion since 2013 when Common Core was fully implemented. It did not begin with COVID. It began in 2013 when the statewide assessments were fully operational. COVID only exacerbated an existing problem of decline. And because of that commitment, which is, again, still ongoing, because if you open those laptops, you'll see that the software is aligned to Common Core. You can cry all you want that we don't have Common Core, but the Missouri Learning Standards are just a relabeling of substandard standards of expectations for English language arts and math that was put in motion by the Hunt Institute. Okay? So we're kowtowing to a lot of NGOs and external organizations and their agenda for social reconstruction rather than paying attention to people on the ground who have the responsibility of educating our children. One way they can intervene in what DESE is doing is by becoming informed through these memoranda. I'm open for question.
Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
questions? See none. Anyone else to testify in support?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Otto Fage on behalf of Missouri NEA. Certainly within the education area, there have been occasions where it would have been helpful to have this as a transparency measure. We'd also maybe mention to the committee, as a general transparency measure, maybe it shouldn't be limited just to one single agency. Also, there might need to be some consideration. There could be occasionally specific provisions in the Sunshine Law that might require some aspects of some of these things to remain restricted. But in general, we just see this as a transparency measure. Happy to answer questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Seeing none.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you for your testimony. Anyone else testify in support? Please remember to fill out a witness form.
Lisa Panett with Armorvine, and we just want to come in and support. It's common sense like we've been asking for. So,
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none. Anyone else to testify in support? Okay, see none. Anyone to testify in opposition? See none. Informational purposes only. All right, seeing none. Senator, any closing remarks for 324?
No, I just think this is long overdue, and I appreciate the opportunity to present this bill to you today.
All right, thank you, Senator. That's going to close that hearing. We're going to move into Senate Bill 360, and you may proceed with that one.
Thank you. And this is the Education Freedom Act. This is a bill that would help restore local control over education. Rather than empowering central planning by DESE, local school boards should regain control over curriculum policies and decision-making. This aligns with education liberty by placing power in the hands of local communities, parents, and educators rather than state and federal bureaucrats. Reducing government mandates on school, this would in part help do that. We see burdensome state mandates that dictate how schools operate. These mandates burden teachers, stifle innovation, and enforce one-size-fits-all approach that fails students. This bill will help prioritize classroom learning over bureaucracy. Education funding is wasted on bureaucrats and administrative bloat rather than reaching teachers and students. This bill cuts unnecessary regulations and redirects funds to teachers and classrooms, ensuring that resources support learning rather than bureaucracy. The fourth point I want to make is, in the discussion of school choice and competition, how can we, those who profess to champion the free market and limit government, claim to stand for parents' and children's best interests in education, yet fail to acknowledge that this body has, over decades, empowered the largest bureaucracy in the state to supersede the wishes and best interests of locally accountable elected school boards and the parents who elect them? True, authentic choice means giving all communities, parents, and neighborhoods choice over the power of self-determination. A system that has failed our parents is the current system. Parents have begged the legislature over a decade ago, and I sat in this room myself over a decade ago, begging this body to help us retain local control. Our schools suffer from battered wife syndrome. The rules constantly change at the whim of bureaucrats. We allowed the department to strip phonics from reading instruction and replace it with whole sight word reading, a decision our local schools did not choose. Parents warned us that their children were crying at night, struggling with frustration under innovative new math. They testified in this very hearing room, begging the legislature not to adopt what the department called the golden new standards, the Common Core state standards. This was, at the time, not an issue of standards, but of control. And yet today we hear constant complaints that our children can't read or do math, not because of local school boards, but because the State Department ignored the voices of parents. Even after the legislation passed to rein in the Department of Education and allow Missouri to set its own standards, DESE implemented Common Core anyway. Cursive was stripped from education. I sat on the K-5 Writing Standard Work Group for Education Standards, where parents, teachers, and community members from across the state were a part of developing those new standards. We implemented cursive, we implemented literature, and a lot of those components were stripped out in the final rulemaking process in the final standards. We remain stuck with the whole sight word reading, flawed math, and ineffective reading materials. Our rural schools that value the same things we do, have been made to beholden to a system of weights and measures controlled by their captor. Not one of inputs, but of a system built on compliance to government demands that shift constantly, a test they don't get to see, a test that is proprietary and computer adaptive, designed to measure compliance rather than true learning. Ending decades of government overreach is a priority of mine. I'm asking this body to end decades of government abuse, starting with the repealing of the 1990 Outstanding Schools Act, which empowered the department under a Democrat governor to strip local control from communities. More than 80% of the children, Missouri's children, attend public schools. It's time to empower those parents and those schools to be just as free as we're willing to give private schools and parochial schools and charter schools. Thank you for hearing this bill, and happy to answer any questions.
No, Thank you, Senator. I know as a parent, this has been probably one of the biggest eye-opening experiences for me with 5 kids, 3 that went through all the way K through 12 public school, and 2 that I had to remove from public school, put into private. And that was probably, again, the biggest eye-opening experience, realizing the erosion of public education. When you're seeing, I had three graduates that, they didn't learn how to even write in cursive, and now I've got kids that are 5th grade or 4th grade and in 9th grade can write in cursive, can actually spell, can actually do grammar. My daughter's even severely dyslexic, and yet you look at her writing and her capabilities. It's astounding when we went from the public education to a liberal arts curriculum in a private school. I mean, it really, truly is transformative, and I would love to be able to give that capability back to school districts to where if they see that need and they really realize that they can do these sorts of things, to equip them and give them that capability. So I think that's the crux of your bill. It's not to undermine anyone or any local school district. It's actually allowing them to be able to be the local school district, correct?
Yes. So, Senator, when I began coming to the Capitol over a decade ago, it was because of a conversation that a teacher came to me in my local school. My son's autistic, so I was at the school often just to help and be a support there. And so I have a good relationship with the teachers there. And it was a teacher who came to me and said, listen, this stuff that they're doing, we don't want to do this. And so not being naive at the time, I just said, well, go to your school board. And she said, I'm scared of losing my job. So again, I was like, well, I'll go to the school board. Same conversation at the school board level. We're scared that if we come and testify or if we come and stand against these, that the department will find a way to mess with our accreditation and our funding. Well, that's why I started coming to the Capitol over a decade ago. Look, if this is America and this is what's happening to local taxpayer dollars and those parents who have their kids in those schools where 80% of their property taxes goes to that school, but they have very little say, if any, we need to fix that problem in this opportunity of school choice and school free education freedom. I want to see them have that same ability to have input. My local school didn't choose to get away from phonics. They didn't choose to get away, go into the new math. That was all dictated to them. And we have built a system of compliance for our schools, not one of freedom and flexibility. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions? See none. Anyone to testify in support? Please come forward.
Dr. Mary Byrne, and as I stated earlier, I was with Senator Carter when she began coming to the Capitol. As a matter of fact, I remember holding her hand. Mm-hmm. But I am in support of SB360 and particularly Section 161.092 pertaining to the freedom of Missouri school districts to seek accreditation from alternative national school accreditation agency. And here's why. Because the coercion that Senator Carter is describing is implemented through the tool of MSEP 6. It's the accreditation standards that are holding the school districts hostage because if your accreditation scores go down, your property values go down. People don't want to move into your district, and you jeopardize the job force coming into your community because corporations or businesses do not want to come into a district that could be considered failing because they don't meet the accreditation standards of the state, even though they're educating children well. And that's something you experienced in your school district where you were a blue ribbon school district, but jeopardizing your accreditation from DESE. So there's a problem of external review not matching what's happening here in the state. In particular, my concern is that the MSEP 6 is designed to impose diversity, equity, and inclusion into local school districts, and that this diversity, equity, inclusion is not reflective of the U.S. Constitution and the Missouri Constitution, but of neo-Marxist critical race theory. My written testimony, which I'm not going to take the time to read in its entirety, explains that MSEP 6 is the coercive tool that holds LEAs accountable for implementing DEI policies. I highlight two examples where these statutes appear to encourage, not just courage, but mandate that school districts violate existing statutes, RSMO 171, which is school operations, because the standards require the districts to delegate their operations authority to the superintendent. They're elected to perform their statutory obligations, but this MSEP 6, which is got the force of law because it's an administrative rule, requires the districts in violation of that statute to delegate their authority to their employee. And that the Missouri courts have held that, no, as an elected body, you cannot delegate the authority that you were elected to perform. The other questionable aspect of these standards is that RSMO 337.015 regarding the practice of psychology appears to be violated because the teachers are now mandated to perform the activities of a licensed psychologist, particularly with social emotional learning. That needs to be investigated. I have gone to other authorities at the state level saying you need to investigate the state board for this. But they can't do anything because of some kind of code of conduct you have up here that we're not going to embarrass each other. Even though teachers are leaving the field because they're overburdened with a workload that is not part of educating students. They're also leaving the field because of school discipline problems. But MSEP 6 requires them to implement multi-tiered student support, which is an idea of the Council of Chief State School Officers and the Aspen Institute. All right, what this does is it treats every student as if they are in need of mental health intervention. I kid you not. As a matter of fact, I'm going to leave with you the CCSSO document that cites the American Psychological Association. Teachers are not licensed to perform the activities of a licensed psychologist, but that's what we're asking them to do. And they're asking the teachers in school districts to use software and technology to monitor the compliance of students with that agenda. So I actually implore you to free the school districts from the tyranny of a state board and a department that will impose these standards on school districts that want to educate students but don't want social reconstruction. So I'm open for question.
Thank you very much. Any questions? See none. Thank you for your testimony. Anyone else testify in support?
Mr. Chairman, committee members, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I just wanted to record my support for the bill. I am not a professional teacher. I am a father.
Can you state your
Walter
name?
Hayes, I'm sorry. I'm a father, grandfather, and as of last year, now great-grandfather. So I'm very interested in my children getting the best education possible. Personally, I don't know. I would love to see if somebody has this information where the Department of Education at the federal level or DESE at the state level has improved the education of our children in any way, shape, or form. I believe the way to best do that is to return control to the local school boards and the parents in the local communities. I think they have the best interest of those children in mind, and what we need to do is be more concerned about the education of our children than we are institutions like Department of Education or DESE for that matter. So I'm in full support of anything we can do to return local control to our parents and our local school boards.
Thank you very much. Any questions? See none. Please remember to leave a witness form.
Yes.
Next is support.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Otto Fajan on behalf of Missouri NA. We're here in support of Senate Bill 360. We appreciate the committee having moved out in the last 2 years similar bills, Senate Bill 814 and Senate Bill 85. A couple of comments that I think are helpful. One is that we have seen over the arc of the last 30-some years, Missouri started down this road with Senate Bill 380. We moved to a time where standardized testing has really weighed heavily on the minds of principals and teachers. It wasn't as bad under the original MAP testing, but when the federal government passed No Child Left Behind, it really shifted the landscape for educators because it created circumstances where school systems really were looking at how do we survive the next 10 years, because it set up metrics to label all schools as failing and then steps to essentially destroy them over time. Now, that bill created so much havoc in public education with teachers and parents and with students that the federal government actually repealed in large measure the consequences, but they did not repeal the testing requirements. And Missouri is continuing to use those testing requirements. This bill really seeks to address the linking of those testing requirements, which are no longer required by federal law to be connected to accreditation, to the accreditation system. This bill also actually turns the accreditation system into school improvement. Right now, the system functions mainly as a metric, giving a district a number. Working through a traditional regional accrediting agency will actually provide the school system with a thorough review, and regardless of whether they're really struggling in certain areas or they're already meeting so many of the benchmarks that the state essentially doesn't really pay close attention to them, it's going to give them a to-do list and focus them on where they need to do, what they need to be working on to improve. So we see that change to accreditation to really be both from the state's perspective, an improvement to the model for school improvement, and at the same time liberating for the school systems to be able to move forward in the way that really meets the students' needs in their district. I also say, I think we would concur with the suggestion that we are really struggling to keep teachers in the classroom, and that really dealing with disruption and discipline is also a huge factor. And so empowering schools to really work at that at the local level without feeling like they're being judged on how they do that would also be very helpful for teacher retention and recruitment. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Seeing none.
Thank you, Mr.
Anyone
Chairman.
else testifying in support, please come forward.
Good morning, Chairman and remaining members. My name is Jennifer Blackcone, and I am an educator, 34 years, and I'm also a survivor of school testing. So most educators will confess that testing is their least favorite aspect of teaching. However, we understand that authentic testing is one of the tools educators need to assess a student's proficiency. Now, when assessments are authentic, meaning it measures a student's ability to apply knowledge and skills in real-world situations, it is a valuable tool for educators to determine whether or not the curriculum and instruction designed for the course is truly authentic while assuring it meets the educational standards established by their school district. Now, when tests are designed and mandated by state entities, there is little to no input from local school districts, their schools, specific departments, and most importantly, from the educators who are required to administer these tests. And when results of these tests are published and a district or school is shamed for not meeting standards based upon a test that the district and school had no part in creating, great harm is done to that district, school, and the educators who were required to administer it. Any test given should be a tool to assist the district, the school, and the educator in designing and modifying curriculum and instruction that has a universal design to meet the needs of all students. A test should never be a means of administering punitive judgments. My friends, teachers are leaving the profession in record numbers, and it breaks my heart. Now, COVID caused great harm. Yet our schools were being attacked long before COVID. An educator's work environment is a student's learning environment. When educators are required to jump through hoops that do not align with the curriculum and instruction they know is best for their students, and adds more unnecessary stress to their job, they burn out, they leave, and our students are suffering. Proximity in testing and education matters. Tests that come from sources other than the local school district, the school, or the educator, and are not authentic will not provide the results that will assist in better educating our students. Prior to No Child Left Behind, educators could focus on curriculum and instruction, aligning between elementary, middle, and high school, but no more. State-mandated testing is harming our schools because it has the power to make or break. Testing must be in the control of the local district, the school, and the educator. Proximity in testing and education truly matters.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? See none. Thank you. Anyone else to testify in support, please come forward. Please remember to fill out a witness form.
Good morning. My name is Tony Rossetti. I'm a retired educator, and I'm an education consultant for the Southwest Center for Educational Excellence, which is a consortium of about 41 schools, 5,400 teachers, 57,000 kids in Southwest Missouri, and we support this bill. And the reason that we support it is much of what you've heard already, we're going to echo some of the same things. Missouri has a system in place, and I don't think we can get around at least identifying some of the things where they have taken this MSIP, this Missouri School Improvement Plan, which has been in place for about 30 years, and married it to the accreditation accountability. So they're all put together, which we're one of the only states that do that. I mean, there's probably only about six other states that marry those two things together. They don't have to be. So you can have accountability measures, you can have accreditation measures, but they don't necessarily have to be blended together identically, and that's what ours does. And as a result, what we end up having over a period of time, we want our schools to be creative, innovative, and relevant, and it's really hard to do when you have a system that says, hey, we want you to be all of those things, but if you don't perform well on that test, you're going to lose your accreditation. And I've heard mention about doing some things with cursive and having the freedom to make decisions about what you want to do for your kids when you have this assessment that's going to drive. In essence, what we do is there's several metrics within the MSIP process, some of them good, some of them kind of questionable. But we're going to take all of those numbers, average them together, put them in a blender, and then we're going to have one number that comes out and says that's what you are as a school district, and then we're going to base your accreditation off of it. And really, when you're driving all of that based on an assessment one time, you can't use it to drive instruction because you don't get the answers to it, to the scores, until the following year. It's more of an autopsy than it is helping you determine what you need for your kids. So in Missouri, we do things like we're chasing points. And every 5 years, I don't know if you've looked at what we've done over the last 30 years in the MSIP cycles, is anybody really satisfied with the outputs? I don't think schools are. I don't think legislators are. So this bill, one of the reasons that we support is because it actually separates those things of accountability and accreditation. And what it does is it kind of serves as divorce papers saying this relationship should have been over a long time ago. It's time to look at a new way of doing things. So if we have more ability to choose but still have accountability and accreditation, we're still getting the same things, but we're having more local control, we're having deregulation, and really we're doing things that are good for kids and not necessarily chasing the points so that we can all get this thing of accreditation. So having a third party being able to allow school districts to choose that. If they want to continue with the old system, there's nobody forcing them not to do that. This provides options. It might make the system more competitive to get better results. So that's why we support this bill, and I'll answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. I'd agree with your assessment of the bill. Any questions? See none. All right.
Thank you.
Anyone else testify in support?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Mike Lodewigan on behalf of the Missouri Council of School Administrators go on record in support of the bill. I think one of the things that I've been saying is I've been preparing for this hearing and thinking about this topic is I go back to the saying. There's an old political cartoon that I've seen regarding standardized testing, and it's the saying essentially is the path to hell is paved with good intentions. The good intentions are absolutely that we have to test, we have to test, we have to test, and what that is all with the best of intentions of trying to improve and trying to improve. But every time we do that, whether it's the federal government foisting it upon the states or the state foisting it upon school districts, that test then becomes the thing that we all have to respond to. And every time that we're told that we are failing, which we've heard, we had a conversation on regarding some of the school choice bills on this. Every time schools are told that they're failing and teachers are told that they're failing, they focus even more on trying to respond to dealing with those numbers. That works its way down from the state to the school district, from the school district to the building principal, from the principal down to the teacher. So what we have is a system where you're seeing with the freak out regarding the conversations going on at the federal level with the Department of Education. We're seeing the freak out that has occurred in this building from a previous administration at the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education and members of the State Board of Education that have been lulled into a false sense of what it is that their responsibility is by the previous administration, freaking out about things like this, which has the only impact of trying to put this back in the hands of our teachers to be able to respond to the needs of their classroom and their students. It should not be any surprise that we are currently in the process of a teacher retention and recruitment issue when we've had this system for over 30 years that continually tells everyone that they're failing. And from listening to conversations with teachers, retired administrators, one of the questions, our top recruiting group of new teachers in the history of the state have been sons and daughters of teachers. And if you talk to teachers right now, are they telling their students to go into teaching? And generally, I think the response we get is no, because of this. We can talk about money, we can talk about support, we can talk about all these things. But until you fix this, we are not going to have the teachers to come into the classroom to be able to have the freedom to meet the needs of the kids that they love and care for every single day. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? See none. Anyone else testify in support, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, member of the committee. Mike Harris on behalf of the Missouri State Teachers Association go on record in support of Senate Bill 360. I think Mike Lodewigan said it best. Our teachers know what our students need and know how to get the resources and what they need to do to help improve those students' learning. Disconnecting it from the state level and putting it back into their hands will, we feel will greatly drive classroom improvement and teacher satisfaction. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? See none. Thank you. Anyone else to testify in support? Okay. Against? Please come forward. Informational purposes only. Okay. See none. Senator, closing remarks.
Just briefly, I just want to say that the teachers are leaving public education and going to private schools, where this bill is exactly what private schools do. They have third-party accreditation and accountability. They test and nationally normed test. You have the accountability of how they're performing, but it is not tied to how those inputs of how the school is doing. So there's no fear of improving because they're independent of each other. So we'd like to give that to our local schools. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That'll conclude the hearing on Senate Bill 360, and I make a motion that we adjourn. I have a second. We are adjourned.
Senator Carter.